Come on in. Oh, it is recorded.
We've been here all this time.
That's how Tracy showed me. He said, now if you're wondering whether or not you're hooked up in live, you take your ring finger and just smack it real hard. They won't know what it is, but you'll
know you're live.
I changed strings down in Winfield. The ones I was playing one night, and I looked down, my strings were all corroded. You know, I thought, I'm going to change these before Russell sees it.
I saw you. Well, I look forward to him seeing it. He'll do it for me.
He puts the wrong gauge on for me.
Lights.
She's got it. Baby, she's got it. Whose uke is that? Is that her uke?
Huh? No, that's her little bass. I played it over at Greg's house that day.
Come on into the light. Come on in if you're beaten. Come on in if you're poor. Come on in if you're hungry. Come on in. Come on in if you're heartsick. Come on in if you grieve. Come on in if you're haunted. Come on in. I can see my Savior standing by the open door. I can hear my Savior calling. come on in, come on in. Come on in, come on in if you're lonesome. Come on in if you're lost. Come on in if you're frightened. Come on in, come on in, come on in. Come on in if you're different. Come on in if you're drunk. Come on in if you're outcast. Come on in, come on in, come on in. I can hear my Savior calling. I can hear a voice in the night. I can hear the chorus rising as we answer with all of our might. Come on in, hear the singing. Come on in, start to smile. Come on in, join the dancing. Come on in, 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 come on in. Come on in, come on in, come on in now. Come on in, come on in, come on in. Come on in, come on in, come on in. Whoa, 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 way to tickle those ivories.
Okay, so now welcome. Okay.
What's next? Man, the wind is ferocious.
Yeah, it's called my rock.
Microphone, do we want me to use?
I can,
Got stuck over. Oh. Maybe I should do this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hello! Thank you for waiting while we got everything hooked up so folks at home could listen in too. Tonight we have 4 awesome speakers for you. We have Jeanette Metzler and Daphne Sajovic and Rob Hatem. And the other Greg M, but it is Greg Martin tonight.
Whoa! Imposter!
So we're gonna, you have song sheets, everyone should have one, so you can sing along. It's a lot of original, actually almost everything is original music tonight except for, well, it is original. One is Fingerprints, which a friend of mine wrote. So. But everything else is original to our band tonight, and we are continuing our theme of Tell Me a Story. So Trevor's going to lead us in Among Us, and then Jeanette, you're up first, and then Rob, and then we're going to sing some more, and then we'll let Greg and then Daphne go. Okay? All right, let's sing.
Everybody got their song sheet? All right.
Stephanie, is this
Everyone going to stand up?
they're going to use to talk?
See, look at this crew. They're so hard to work with. When we consider all the ways, try to prove our worth by keeping score. When we choose to let go of our fears, then we see we're part of so much more. You're among us when we tell our favorite story. You're among us in the laughter and the tears. You're among us when we learn to sing each other's songs. Then we see you've been among us all along. Help us hear your voice, Lord us how to trust the way you do. Remind us again that we'll never be alone, that you'll always be right here to see us through. You're among us when we tell our favorite story. You're among us in the laughter and the tears. You're among us when we learn to sing each other's song. Then we see you've been among us all along. Robert? Once again how to love, to not be so afraid of being wrong. Help us to see even greater things than these. When we circle round that fire, we all belong. You're among us when we tell our favorite story. You're among us in the laughter and the tears. You're among us when we learn to sing each other's songs. Then we see you've been among us all along. You're among us when we tell our favorite stories. And you're among us in the laughter and the tears. You're among us when we learn to sing each other's songs. Then we see you've been among us all along. Yes, we see you've been among us all along.
Good job, everyone. Do you want it? Yeah.
Hold on to them papers.
Do you need that adjusted down for you? Yeah.
Oh, you need it down?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, she needs it down a bit.
All right.
Just a little bit. Yeah, perfect. That work? Great. Okay, thank you. So, everyone here, is everyone here familiar with the song Here I Am, Lord? Anybody not know the song? This particular song has always really resonated with me. It always creates a stirring inside me, and probably more than just about any other song that we sing. While singing it, I always feel the Spirit, and I feel like I should listen to where the Spirit is taking me. But once I sit back down, reality and a bit of guilt begins to set back in. I'm so aware of the great need and the suffering that's going on in our world, and I question, what if I really am supposed to leave my life and move to a third world country? And I really enjoy my morning coffee, I'm morning my yoga, I enjoy my life, the comforts of my life, and I keep thinking, am I supposed to be doing something else? It's with this underlying conflict that drew me into a deeper level of listening when I met Anna. Anna is a young nurse at the hospital where I work. After nursing school, she spent a year of mission work in Nepal.
She describes an undeniable calling from God that this is where she should serve. Her plan, after she finished her year of mission work, was to return to Nepal after she paid back all of her school loans. And then from there, continue to listen to where God was calling her. Once she got back in Kansas City and working at the hospital, she met a Nepalese community in Kansas City, Kansas. And this is a Nepalese refugee community that she was working in. She became very involved with these families and youth. She says that God spoke to her again and said, this is where you need to be. So Anna, to me, she's like my Mother Teresa. She moved into the apartment complexes, which was the refugee settlement place. So I've been in these apartments, and let's just say this is the exact scenario that I was avoiding when I would think, would I be able to do this? Would I be able to really just give everything up and go? Because I never felt like I could listen to God in that way. So this really continues for me to question what is my gift. And I say, and let's just, and what God is calling me to do. And I know that one of my gifts is I have a gift of connecting, and the gift of seeing what's missing, where problems are, and how to pull things together to be able to solve those problems. And oftentimes I'm overzealous about it, and I do it all wrong, but that's really what I always feel like my calling is to do. So in my position at the hospital, I have the privilege to influence where the hospital invests their resources. I write and implement our community health plan, which is focused on addressing the needs of the underserved in our community and working with minorities. I began working with Anna and her youth leader team to create a 3-year plan. The goal in our plan was centered around supporting the youth program, New Change for Youth. And New Change for Youth is a youth program that really is around these youth becoming the leaders in the community. So in the refugee community, it's often the kids and the youth that are the pillars in the family. They're the ones that know the language first, they're the ones that are communicating, and they are solving a lot of the problems, so they're very, very involved in that aspect of their life. And you can imagine what a struggle that is and a burden it is on them to have that responsibility along with everything else that they're going through. So as my circle of friends, hold on here. So our plan was beginning to come together when the pandemic hit. As my circle of friends and family were working on our Costco list and where we're going to try to find where we're going to get our toilet paper, it was a lot different in the refugee community. These families did not even understand what was happening. They didn't understand. They knew there was something that was going on. They knew for some reason now they've been told not to go into work. They don't completely understand why are their kids not going to school. So there was a lot of concern and frustration in these homes. And they also were wondering why, when we go to the grocery store, are the shelves empty of the food that they rely so heavily on? In these communities, a lot of Asian communities, they rely on lentils and rice. And in the grocery stores at this particular time, a lot of people were buying these things up and hoarding them. And this was a real problem for these families because they could no longer get them. And if they did get them, they were then 4 times the price of what they were used to paying. So in this time, I met with Anna, and we're looking at our plan and say, what is it that we can do? And so within very few short days, and with the hospital support and the ingenuity of her youth program, we immediately put together a small army of these youth, and we put together packages of COVID safety information in 5 different languages. We put together soap, hand sanitizers, masks, cleaning supplies for the homes, and we just blanketed there's 3 apartment complexes, and we just blanketed those apartment complexes with this information and those resources. Then that really kind of stirred up a lot of other things. So following that initial response, the youth put together a month's supply of food for these families. And this included a 125-pound box of lentils and rice and potatoes and just really what was their basic staples. And we delivered this to over 200 families where the youth were responsible for actually getting those out. This was one of the reasons this was available is because working for a hospital, we have to source these certain things out, and we had resources to find these things where other people could not. So we pulled those resources together to be able to support this activity. So in the past 18 months, there have been many other outreaches in this community that's been engineered by and working with this amazing youth group. And with the support of our hospital and so many other individuals and organizations, that we answer that calling, really, is it I, Lord? Are you calling me? And yes, is how we can get the job done. And I would say for me personally, one thing that really inspired me throughout this was there were so many yeses, so many people that were feeling isolated and wanted to do something, and just the ask of anybody to be able to step up and do something. There were people were really willing to come in and step in and work with this community, even this church and families here at this church. So thank you.
Let's see. Okay. I don't know how much I'll consult my notes, but earlier this year, I began sharing life with Lars Hartland in Overland Park. Lars, L''ARCHE, the ARC, was started by French Canadians, and it's oh, thanks. So it was started by French Canadians. It's an international movement that is to assist adults with developmental and intellectual disabilities. My first few months there, I worked in mostly two different houses. One was called Friendship House, which was a makeshift day program because of all the closed county and privately run care day programs because of COVID. So we had 7 unique men in this house, and then in another house called the Duplex, there were 4 men, although one of those men was 4 different people. One week he would be Broderick Crawford, or no, he was Matthew Broderick. I'm sorry. Another week I would go and I'd say, "Hi, David," and he'd say, "No, I'm Robert Preston." The next week I'd say, "Hi, and who are you today?" He'd say, "He's Dan Aykroyd." And the next week he was Dick Clark. So I don't know how those 4 guys fit in this house. That's like 8 guys in that house because it was 4 of him and the other 3, 5 of him. So I do need to look at these notes.
Can y'all hear okay?
Well, wait till I start mumbling, and then you'll have a little more of a challenge. So even sharing the responsibilities with another competent, capable assistant, mealtimes, chores, and I'll stand back a little bit.
It's not that. Hold on.
Just move it over.
Wait.
Wait on that.
Okay, go.
Okay. So mealtimes, chores, activities at Friendship were a juggling act because of the different abilities and different personalities of the guys. For instance, one guy had a very low tolerance for disruption versus another guy who had kind of a performative boisterousness. So we had to keep them apart. We had to continually kind of juggle guys around and what the different activities we're doing during the meals, during everything. Or even just sharing the big screen TV. We had the Spider-Man versus the Nutcracker Ballet versus Everybody Loves Raymond versus chainsaw videos. Video after video after video of men cutting things down with chainsaws that one of the guys left to watch. This work highlights my own disabilities, which are an ignorance of sign language and behavioral therapy, and a complete lack of a sense of direction. They So what I did those first months was ask the other assistants, what do you wish you knew when you were starting out? So I got some good thoughts. They said they all understand more than you think they do, and often more than they can tell you. And another guy told me, don't expect them to grow or change, just love them the way they are. So what do? I do stuff I learned growing up, being a brother, being a son, and I learned being a husband and being a dad. I listen. I ignore bad jokes. I tell bad jokes. I tease. I ignore teasing. I ignore being ignored. I try to convince guys to wash their hands and help with the household chores. I break up belching contests and I break up fights. And when I think of it, I toss out an affirmation when I can. Giving and charting the meds is one of the jobs that requires some focus in the midst of constant chaos. That and preparing meals. Because preparing meals for me means looking up a recipe usually to figure out how to make what's on the menu. And then trying to convince a group of 4 guys where I work. I should have said where I work now is just 4 guys in the JP2 house. They all are conditioned to eating prepackaged junk food, and they are resistant to anything that has vegetables, even onions if I sneak them into something, or anything, any Italian food. They don't even like Italian food outside of pizza. So it's a constant chore to try to convince them to eat what I've made. And I'm working on just intimidating them into not criticizing my cooking and to eat whatever I fix. And basically it's working pretty good. They're kind of afraid to criticize me. So it's too easy to share stories that make them seem to be kind of naive, overgrown children or to be the butt of jokes, but each of them is more than their disability. And they reveal to me often my ableism and the beauty of my lack of a sense of direction means I have to lean on the guys to lead me around town when we go out. And we always get where we're going. So it works to lean on them. It's a tricky balance, knowing when to step in or when to get out of the way. Even in the most basic thing like respecting their rights as adults versus knowing how to help them navigate a not always welcoming world. So that's all that's all kind of a long-winded way of saying what my community coordinator means when she just says simply that our job is to share life. So how can you help? Well, the annual dinner and auction is coming up October 8th. It's coming up pretty quick. And it'll be out in Leawood. And I can give anybody information about that later. Thanks.
Am I too close? Yeah. I think, are we on? Yeah. I think we can see why Garth Brooks always wore that headset with the microphone that came around his mouth. It's kind of hard to, it's always hard to stay on the microphone. How can we justify hate for sisters and brothers when we clearly been instructed to love one another? Love is not a feeling, something that we do. Let's each work for the good of all, for the many and the few. Could it be that fear is the cause of it all? Has it deafened us so that we cannot hear God's call? We fear Republican, we fear Democrat, we fear Protestants and Catholics and other folks like that. We fear Hindus and Muslims. We fear that God will be mad at us if we should love them. We fear the color of each other's skin, sexual orientation. We find it hard to accept each other without reservation. Could it be that love really is the answer to it all? Trust and respect and care for each other are the heart of God's call. We know it won't be easy, whoever said it would. But why are we fighting each other? We could be working for the good. God is greater than our tears, greater than our prejudice and fears, greater than our differences, our lack of faith, the ignorance that causes hate. God is greater than geography, greater than ethnicity, greater than religiosity. God's love is here for you and me. Could it be that love really is the answer to it all? Trust and respect and care for each other are the heart of God's call. We know it won't be easy, whoever said it would. But why are we fighting each other? We could be working for the good. God is greater than our tears, greater than our prejudice and fears, greater than our differences of the ignorance that causes hate. God is greater than geography, greater than ethnicity, greater than religiosity. God's love is here for you and me. Would you pray with me? Before I pray, my son was a teenager, and you're talking about just getting summer jobs or just having jobs in general. And I said to him, there are a lot of things that need to be done. And he, what are you talking about? And I just think about, I love hearing from everybody about the work that they do, the work that they've done. There are a lot of things that need to be done to keep this world running, and I'm grateful for all of you. And God, I thank you for each person here today, for what they do, what they've done, for who they are. Thank you for the love that's represented here, for the love that my brothers and sisters here give to those around them, to the help they give, to the sustenance that they bring to folks, to the teaching that they give to others, to just the care that they give to people who need love, who need acceptance. I just thank you for all these folks, and I thank you for your love. Amen. Without all these paper clips, my pages would not stay in place at all. Okay. Martin Luther King had a powerful dream that justice would roll down like water, that what is within, not color of skin, would measure our sons and daughters. Sisters and brothers, it's how we treat others that shows just how we are made. Don't deny it, don't even try it. Behavior is character on parade. If you mistreat those you meet, how can you expect to have peace? Give consolation, sow reconciliation, work for the prisoner's relief. If you want peace, treat folks justly. If you want peace, walk in love. If you want peace, show folks mercy. If you want peace, practice love. God has shown us, oh brother and sister, what is good and what God desires of us each day. To act justly and show mercy, and let God's love direct our way. If you want peace, treat folks justly. If you want peace, walk in love. If you want peace, show folks mercy. If you want peace, practice love. Let's work for a world where God's will is done, where love and mercy are shown to everyone. Let's work for a world where God's will is done, where peace and justice really are for everyone. If you want peace, treat folks justly. If you want peace, walk in love. If you want peace, show folks mercy. If you want peace, practice love. If you want peace, treat folks justly. If you want peace, walk in love. If you want peace, show folks mercy. If you want peace, practice love. If you want peace, practice love.
I got one for you.
Okay. I will do that. Good evening, Crossroads. Yes, I am Greg Martin, the other Greg M. that a lot of you have accidentally emailed when you're trying to email Greg Moppins. I work at a hospital coffee shop / cafe. It's at KU Med, where the lovely Nancy Wright works. Yes, we can clap for Nancy. I have worked there for a little over 13 years, and we have always been very busy. But just like a lot of places, that changed back in March of 2020. And we had this little thing called the global pandemic come around, and our business went from really busy to very slow. And an 8-hour workday at a place where you're not having any business makes for a long day. And the majority of our customers have always been hospital employees, mixed in with visitors and patients, but always been employees. But when the pandemic started, things changed, and our patients that were coming in, a lot of their procedures and visits had been canceled, and it was being done by telehealth and all that. And so obviously there was no visitors there. And then a lot of the employees at the hospital ended up, if they were able to work from home, they did work from home. So just things changed. But flash forward to January, February of this year, the vaccines had been developed and were approved to be distributed, and people started getting vaccinated. And after time, patients started coming back to the hospital. And after more time, those patients were allowed one visitor, maybe two. And a lot of the employees came back that had been working from home. And pretty soon it was back to business as usual for us at the coffee shop. Well, I have my, everyday customers that come in, and then ever so often you'll have new people show up. And I had this one lady who had been coming in for a week or two, and a lot of times she would come to my register and I would wait on her. And every time she would get a large non-fat latte and a cranberry orange muffin. That was her usual. Well, over time, she and I kind of developed a little rapport. We would talk and, make a little conversation while we were doing our transaction and everything. And time had passed, and after a while, I noticed one day she came in, and I could see her in the line. She was on the phone, and her whole face was just a little different. You could tell something was wrong. And she actually wasn't a patient. It was her daughter who was there, and she was with her sometimes. And but this day she was by herself, and she came up, and I said, "Do you need your usual?" And she said, "No, today I'm actually just going to get a small coffee." I'm like, "Okay, well, do you need your muffin?" "No, just the coffee." And I don't know, something just hit me at that moment, and I'm like, we always hear about that little small voice that comes to your mind, but we don't always listen to it. But this time I thought, I'm going to. So I said, "You know what? You're going to get your non-fat latte, and you're going to get your muffin, but today it's going to be on me, so don't you worry about it." And she just kind of looked at me like, what are you doing? And I said, "Well, I just feel like it's the right thing to do." And she just looked at me, and she actually had got tears in her eyes. And she leaned in towards me, and she was like, "Greg, if I could hug you right now, I would. I somehow over the last 24 hours have lost my debit card, and it's the only card that I've been using while I'm here in town, and I don't have that much cash on me until I go back home this weekend." She had ordered a new debit card, which was going to be at home when she got back, but she lives like 2 hours away, so she stayed the majority of the week at the hospital with her daughter. And I said, "Well, you know what, just to help you out, if you come back to me the rest of the week, whenever you come back, I'll help you out." And she's like, I just don't know what to say. I said, well, you don't have to say anything. I said, it's just something that we do. And she came back in a few times that week, and I helped her. And the next Monday she came back, and she had her card. You could tell things were going better for her. Now that, it doesn't take that much to do a little act of kindness just to make somebody else's day. And it made me personally feel really good, not about what I was doing for her, but that she was happy. I was happy to brighten someone's day. And anyway, she continued coming back, and to end on a good note, her daughter, who had actually been dealing with some cancer issues, as of right now, the last time I talked to her, she was cancer-free. So, praise God.
Wow. If only you were at home doing that for tell my husband all that. That would be great. I just realized I'm on film right this second. So I'm going to clean. He's the most amazing man. I'm Daphne Sajovic. Hello. I really struggled with this whole tell a story thing. I am usually not speechless, and so I'm listening to, I know, it's so rare. I definitely was born with something to say, so it's not like you're going to be deprived. Let me be clear about that. But I wasn't sure what story I wanted to go with. So, and Jeanette, and Rob, and Greg, fantastic. I don't know that I'm going to pull up the rear quite like that, but this is what I'm going to talk about. The pandemic, I think, has given me a different perspective on how to treat people and how I want to be treated. So I work for the Veterans of Foreign Wars. Our headquarters is at 34th and Broadway. I celebrated my 20th anniversary as of January of this year. And I'm stunned too. And I work customer service in the insurance and member benefits department. And I would love to talk about that aspect, but guess what? I'm not. So, June 2020, dealing with the whole George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and my level of you gots to be kidding me. Just went up, blood pressure that didn't exist. And Veterans of Foreign Wars decided to send out a memo. And I think in their, in case somebody is watching this from VFW, I think in their wanting to do the right thing, they thought by sending a memo out saying how diverse, how wonderful, how we got your back, all of those things, would be beneficial to the employees of color. And my job is to provide the ability to be able to be heard, but to also listen. And so I love what I do. I'm a daughter of a veteran, love what I do. And I was born on a military base, so I think I have a different perspective about what military life looks like from a child's point of view, and now as an adult. So when they sent out that memo, I'm going to tell you I sat on it for a whole whopping 2 days. I looked at it and I said, I have a couple of options. Aaron read my first draft. He goes, I already know you're going to send something. I already know you're doing it. But if you're going to do it, can we use phraseology and words so that you still have a job to help pay for the ongoing benefit of living in this home and having gas, lights, and water and food. Just, can we find a balance between you going big or going home? I'd like to find the balance. And for the record, Daphne went big. I'm like, you know what? I got to do me. And this church, for the record, has helped me, and the people here have helped me feel like it's okay to stand up for what I think is right. Where I've been in a position where I went, well, it's not right, but I'll complain to Aaron and everybody else, but not the people who can actually do something. So imagine I sent the email to the HR director, who 2 minutes after I sent it, because I said, send it to leadership. I'm ready to roll the dice. 2 minutes, I get a call. And she's like, so, you got a strong opinion. I said, imagine that. I said, I'm just curious, did you run this by anyone that's human, a person, anyone of any type of color, whatever the color of the rainbow might be? Did you run it by anybody? And she goes, I did. And I said, wrong answer. I just said, this part of my understanding of treating people with kindness and respect is remembering to be kind and respectful. A little bit of that memo kind of didn't happen with HR director. And so my supervisor, my boss, called and said, wow, you had a lot to say in that memo, that email, and that's gone out to leadership. And I said, when you say leadership, what do you mean by leadership? I mean, like, she goes, every department commander, everyone who works at National that's in leadership positions. So this has gone out to about 40 people. So I said, I said, am I still going to have a job? I'm just curious. They go, well, let's put this in perspective. They're going to let you go now? It's a good point. Thank you. As a result of what happened were conversations that I was afraid to have. I was so fearful that as a woman and a woman of color, I knew where my position was. And I knew what my position wasn't. And so I said, as a result, they decided to start an employee resource group that I thought was beyond a waste of my time. I thought, oh, this is a feel good. We're going to hear the blah, 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 and everything's going to be great, and blah, blah, blah. And so I realized my attitude had a lot to do with that. That if I want positive change, me coming at it not positive solves nothing. If Daphne is not willing to hear the good with the bad, then how can you make impact? How can you want something when not willing to work for it? I went back to kind of my Texas roots on that. And so as a result of this group, so help me, I've tried to resign twice. I have tried my best to do something, say something that's inappropriate. They cannot possibly continue to want me on this group. Done everything I can. And what I realized is that in my authenticity of not knowing what I contributed, not understanding what my impact could be, my impact didn't have to be gigantic. It could be having a coworker call you, FaceTime. By the way, I don't know how to do that on my phone. I learned that last Friday when the person called to ask my opinion about this. And what I realized is that it doesn't always have to be gigantic. Impact does not always have to be the boom-ling-a-linga. What it can be is this. What it can be is an email from your pastor where you want to say, after her fantastic yes, yes, no, no was so close. And then I realized, what was I afraid of? I may not have anything to say, or I might, because you don't always know what your story does for other people or what your stories do for others. The only way we can get to a point where we are able to be in a space where we listen, where we love, where we grow, where we're respectful, and we're kind, is to be in a room to be able to do that. Doing that at my home, which is lovely, but being able to share your story, because you all may go, I'm not quite sure what she talked about, but at least she got up and spoke. That's better than me saying, not quite sure what I'm going to say. The point of all of this, is that just when you think God is not using you, or whoever your higher power is, for those who, she or he does. It's about being willing to know that you may fail. It's about being willing to know that you can succeed. And it's being willing and heartful to know that sometimes doing and going is just as important as listening and hearing. I've learned so much about myself in this last year and a half. But I also have learned about employees, because we realize that we cannot serve veterans and their families with what we would like to do if we don't have an outlet, or we're not able to be honest with where we're at. And so that whole Black Lives Matter aspect memo has served me better than I thought it was going to, not because I'm on this group. What helped me was being a part of this group showed me that I wasn't the only one on the ship. I wasn't the only one by myself. All the months of being at home and thought I was hitting the iceberg by myself, I realized that other people were going through a lot of the same thing. And so when I equate that to people of color, as a woman of color, I was like, okay, it's not just me. I'm not by myself. And even on the days where I fail, which is more than I would care to admit, the days that I succeed, I'm like, you know what? God gives me the ability to do what I'm going to do. And even though I ripped up my notes right before I came up here, he gave me the ability to do what I do. What I hope we learn from all of our stories is that we all have something to do. We all have something to offer. It doesn't always have to come in the big, shiny package. It could come in a package where I haven't combed my hair all day and I'm going to put a hat on and I'm going to pretend like it's a part of the outfit. And that's just how we're going to roll. Remember, our stories have so much value and importance. Never discount, never put it over there. You just never know impact. That's my story. Thank you. Here. Gotta get your mic then.
Like a glove. I'll turn it on in a second. I turned it off because of the wind. Yep.
Yes. In the meantime, I would argue with Daphne. I think that was quite the follow-up to the previous three. And thank you for all of your stories, all four of you. It's just amazing to hear. Still stalling. We might invite you to stand for this song.
Really?
Maybe? Sure. Why not?
Wow.
We're running out of daylight, so.
We are. We got to hustle.
Maybe we just end with this song. We don't have to do the other one. It's getting dark quick. All right. Woo. Let's try it. Okay. Why not? You ready, dude?
We're ready.
We're ready. Okay, we are ready.
2, 3, 4.
Billions of people on this earth, and we all share a common birth. In our Creator, we all find a word, but do we recognize the others just a number or word? We leave our fingerprints in so many places, but do we stop to think about the names and faces? On every person, everything, there are traces of the Creator shapes us. Whoa, 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 Every decision leaves a print. To love each other, we are sent. All of creation is significant, but do we show this understanding in the way we live? We leave our fingerprints in so many places, but do we stop and think about the names and faces? On every person, everything, there are traces of the Creator that shapes us. Whoa, 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 This life, we only have one. This is short. You only look at the one we're called to live this love into everyone. We leave our fingerprints in so many places, but do we stop and think about the needs and faces? On every person, everything, there are traces of the Creator that shapes us. We leave our fingerprints in so many places, but do we stop and think about the needs and faces? On every person, everything, there are traces of the Creator that shapes us. Whoa, 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 That's yours.
All right, we've got one more song for you. Madeline's original "Love Is Alive in Me," and then we will be dismissed after that. So let's have a round of applause for all our speakers tonight. You all were just truly wonderful, and I feel like I took something from every single person that spoke. Like, I'm taking something home with me today that I heard you say, and it was just really a blessing. So thank you for sharing tonight. Let's have a closing prayer, and then we'll sing. God, we thank you for your beautiful creation and for the opportunity to be
here together out in this space, to feel the breeze, to hear the bugs, the laughter of children, to turn to the side and see the smile of a friend, to join our voices in song. We give thanks for stories, for folks willing to share. Our lives, our story, and we learn so much from one another. And I hope that we leave tonight all taking with us a bit of encouragement to continue living with kindness and with love, and to remember that even small things make a difference in this world. We're grateful for your love, oh God, that we find in this space and this time together. May we be instruments of it. Amen.
Oh, love is alive in me. Whoa, love is alive in me. Whoa, love is alive in me. The Spirit fuels my life. Y'all want to clap? There we go. Okay. As we make our way through each day, it can be hard, oh so hard. As we live our life, so thrilled with strife, it can be so hard, oh so hard. But I know you're with me, Lord. And I know deep in the night you're with me. Oh, I know you're here with me. So I will sing even though I'm hurting. Whoa, love is alive in me. Whoa, love is alive in me. Whoa, love is alive in me. The Spirit fuels my life. The world takes hold and weighs my soul. It can be hard, oh so hard. As the light grows dim and my hope runs thin, it can be so hard,